in Afghanistan right now, and it's going to be that way for a while. So, and we've got other soldiers right now that are serving in Kuwait. We've got 114th Fighter Wing, which just brought back a group, and another group's going to be going. So that's just been a part of this job as well. But that's been the tough part.
What about this new job the president's got for you?
Oh, well, back in 2008, Congress passed the Defense Act, but in the Defense Act was a requirement that there would be, within the, through the Department of Defense, with that being the department responsible, there would be a council of governors appointed to talk about homeland security issues, to review the coordination between the National Guard and its role, as it has been in the past, as a strategic force for defense of the country versus what it is now, which is an ongoing and operational part of the standing Army, Navy, Air Force, and so forth. And they've asked a group of 5 Republican governors and 5 Democrat governors to serve on this council to go through and to really look at the needs of the National Guard in this changing response and role of response, this changing role that they have and the responsibilities that are ongoing now, what the needs of the Guard are, and then what their long-term responsibilities are in terms of homeland security. So it's rather broadly based. Our first meeting is this coming Tuesday, right after the National Governors Association meeting is complete. And so I really don't know a whole lot more of what to expect, but I do know that it's a good group of governors that I'm going to be working with. And our role is to share with the Department of Defense what the needs of the National Guard are, what can be expected in terms of federalizing them versus allowing them to remain under the directions of the governors when it comes to emergency responses for natural emergencies and disasters within the states, versus the need for a Homeland Security defense mission versus a movement into Afghanistan or Iraq or Kuwait. So it's a matter of saying, look, if you're going to use these folks, you got to equip them correctly. You got to give them some new equipment. You've got to give them some places to train that maybe haven't been upgraded in years and years and so forth. So it's really a matter of saying, if you're really serious about having the Guard's mission change, we want to be a part of making those changes so that the Guard is properly equipped and can do the job that's expected of them.
Well, we know you're battling the budget. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but we were up 2% for 2009, so we were pretty happy with the way that we got through it, but we know that you've got some real challenge. Are you any farther ahead now than when the legislature started? Or?
We're behind. We're behind. The budget this year is just going to be difficult. Remember, we talk about the budget in the current year, which ends in June, and then the budget for next year, which is the fiscal year 11 budget that goes from July, beginning in July until the following June. And for this year, we start based upon our best estimates last year. The legislature sits down in March and they try to figure out how much revenue we're going to have coming in. In December, we look back at it and we weren't getting the revenue in that we thought we were going to get last March. And so we revised our estimates down. And our Board of Economic Advisors, they met yesterday here in this room, and they talked for most of a day here in the Capitol. There's not a whole lot of good reports coming out in terms of the national scene or the state scene in terms of job creation. A lot of it is because of indecision in Washington, D.C. You take a look at energy issues. We've had put on hold the power plant, a huge power plant at Big Stone, power plant for Basin up by Selby. Hyperion is in the process right now of answering questions from the EPA on permits that have already been approved, but answering questions there for them. You've got business that's very concerned about a cap and trade or a cap on energy expenses. And some folks have said, well, it's no big deal because just because you got to pay a little bit more in your utilities for that shouldn't be that much of a deal. But the problem is everything that you buy will also have new energy costs built into it. And the concern is that rather than making renewable energy less expensive, we're just making existing energy sources or more expensive. And we think that's the wrong approach. So yeah, I think there's a whole lot of businesses out there that are really concerned about what Washington DC is going to do to them next. If you take a look at financial services, and some people have looked at it and say, well, that was a great consumer move to get those credit cards, but in essence what they've done is forced the credit card folks to put a bigger fee on people that paid their bills, because they've been restricted on what they can do to people who don't pay their bills. And to one segment of the industry that a number of South Dakota companies have been actively engaged in, which are the low limit cards. Those are the cards that go to people that do not have good credit. There's 70 million of those cards out there that will go away beginning this month. And for those individuals that have had those cards, what are they going to do when you have 70 million fewer credit cards out there among the population? They've basically written them off. And I don't know how you have an economic comeback when people don't have access to credit. So I'm really concerned. The other part of it, when they added in a new tier for capital that banks have, particularly regional banks, you have a community bank in your area, and they used to have cash, their own cash in or assets in a bank at 10%. That just went to 12% of loans that are outstanding. And people say, well, no big deal, 2%. That's a 20% increase in capital that they have to have, which means either they have to have capital coming out of someplace else, or they have to reduce the amount of loans that they've got outstanding by 20% in order to comply. So a business owner might have had a tough time. Rather than helping him, they're saying goodbye, go someplace else because I don't have the capital to support your loan anymore. And that's causing problems. And that's another thing coming out of Washington, D.C. It's not necessarily healthy. So in terms of helping it, I think you've got some folks that are making decisions up there that have never run a business. And I think that's showing up right now. And I'm not going to blame one party or the other, because I think there's plenty of blame to go around in D.C. right now, Republicans and Democrats alike. And they're not talking to each other. And even in this building, people still talk to one another. And in Washington, D.C., they're not.
Well, I think we saw that we have a bunch of senators who are just not going to be around anymore.
That's right. I suspect so. Let me just share them. Here's where we're going with the budget this year. We know we're going to have less money. In fact, we started out with the budget for next year that says that we're going to have less money than what we had back in 2008 to spend. Okay, so we've lost 3 years of normal growth. And the way that we've started to combat it is, first of all, for the second year in a row, we're not going to give any pay raises to state employees or regent employees. We've also, for the second year in a row, said there won't be any increases for people that take care of folks in nursing homes. There won't be any increase for providers that take care of people on Medicaid. This year, we also said that we're probably going to have to go to K-12 and say, you're going to have to work it out to use the same amount of money from the state as what you got last year. I also asked that they hold property tax relief at the same level as what it was last year. They're having a tough time doing that upstairs. But we don't have the money coming in, and I don't know how I can get more property